Hi everybody, time for Mixed Media Mayhem.
Good morning. I've got my coffee and we're ready to work. This morning we're ready to grout the bowl. I've got the beads on, the outside is finished. Now we just need to grout the inside. The way we do that is I bought some white, dry, non-sanded grout. They didn't have black, so we'll do white. Now we don't need a lot, so we're just going to open this can. It's very fine powder. The powder is very fine, so you might want to wear a mask. Just a second while I put a mask on. Now I'm going to add some water just until it's like thick cake batter. See, I put too much water in it. My words are going to sound muffled because my mouth is covered by the mask. So we have to add more powder. Okay, it's still too soupy. Okay, this is about the right consistency. Okay. Could be a little bit thicker, but I like it to be a little bit thin to get into all the cracks. Now I'm just going to pour this into the bowl. That's more than we need. I'm going to put on some gloves to protect my hands. Okay, now I'm going to use this old sponge. I'm going to use it dry to push the grout into all the cracks. You have to go, you can't just go in one direction, you have to go in all directions to get that grout right down into those cracks. Because this is what holds the glass on, and not the glue. Okay, I'm getting a little messy here, so I'm gonna be done. I'm gonna have to clean up the mess. First, you scrape as much of this extra stuff out as possible so that you're left only with a thin film. Okay, I got as much out of the inside as I can. Now I have to wipe off the outside where I got some grout on it. We don't want that showing. We don't want that sticking on the outside. Now I'm going to let this sit for 10 minutes, let it harden up a little bit before the next step. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes. It's set a little bit, not a lot, not all the way. We're going to take an old kitchen sponge. It's damp, not wet. And it's pretty much done. Still needs a little bit of work. Like I said, it's one of those things you have to sit down and come back to. But I'm really happy with the results. Hello. This morning we're going to put the finishing touches on our bowl, on our Mosaic bowl. And that finishing touch is glaze coat. It's a high gloss craft resin. It gives it a nice thick coat, and because we did our mosaic on a round surface, the tiles don't stick as well. So that's why we're doing the glaze coat. Plus, it's the bottom of a water drum, so the water is going to be in here constantly and constantly grading on the grout if we don't put the glaze coat on. So, it's very important when using glaze coat to follow the directions carefully. And what I've done here is I've marked 2 cups at 1.5 inches. That way I will get equal amounts of hardener and resin. It's very important that it's equal amounts. If you don't get equal amounts, then you just get a big sticky mess and you've ruined your project. So, I'm going to pour the resin. As you can see, it's got I need to make a hole. I'm going to pour the resin right up to my mark. There we go. I'm right at the bottom of my 1.5 inch mark. Now I'll make sure to put the top on this very tight because it'll be a gooey mess if it spills. Now to put the hardener, same amount, right up to the bottom of my 1.5 inch mark. If you have cups with graduated markings on them, that's the better way to do it. But I don't have that, so that's why I put the marks on the cups. Okay, I have popsicle sticks to mix with. I'm going to pour the 2 parts into the bowl. I'm going to use my popsicle stick and I'm going to mix it up. It says mix for 6 minutes. Now, it's important that you scrape all the sides down and that you get a good stir in there. You're going to develop bubbles as you're stirring, but and you can't really help that, but you still want to stir gently so that you don't get as many bubbles. And I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me stir it for 6 minutes, so I will turn off the camera for the next 5 minutes while I'm stirring. As you can see on the edge, I don't know if you can see it or not, the gourd and the grout change color when it has absorbed the resin. All right. Now to make the bubbles come to the top, I'm just going to tap this. Now just like with when I coated the bottom, the inside before I put the mosaic in, the top, the clear pouring top coat, it's going to self-level. It's going to self-level as if I just leave it alone. But while it's self-leveling, I need to get those bubbles to the top so that they'll pop. I mean, it's no terrible tragedy if you have a lot of bubbles, but it really looks better when it's just clear. Now I'm going to plug in my heat gun and we're going to get rid of those bubbles. The instructions call for either a heat gun or a blow dryer or a blow torch. I'd rather not use a torch. Okay, so let's pop some of those bubbles. Alright, that looks much better. It's not perfect, of course, but it's much better. I don't have a lot of working time left before it starts to harden. Now it says let it sit, let it cure for 5 to 7 hours before you do anything else. So I'm just going to set this aside for the rest of the day and I'll show it to you when it's all done. Here's the bowl, all finished. The glaze coat worked perfectly. It's all dry. It's nice and hard. Just a minute, I'll come back and let you hear what the drum sounds like. Okay, I'm putting water in the bowl, just as it was intended to be. Now for the drum. Isn't that pretty? So that's what it sounds like. I'm really happy with the way it looks. And the way it works. So now, go off, make your own drum, be kind, be caring, be creative.